few weeks back we did a video on the pros and the cons of the new Gen Y hitch that we just changed out our old hitch for. We had the Super Glide hitch before, and one of the cons, now the pros definitely outweigh the cons with the new Gen Y hitch, but one of the cons was ease of hitching up and unhitching. But we have learned some tips and tricks that help us to hitch up and unhitch. So if you have the Gen Y, or you're thinking about getting the Gen Y but you're worried about how hard it is to hitch up and unhitch, hopefully these tips will help you out a little bit.
If you struggle like us.
Yeah, I think we got it down now, and I think that these will really help you.
Yeah.
The first thing that we did was we took a piece of red reflective tape and put it down the center of the hitch, and that tells us exactly where dead center is, and it's going to help us get lined up. The problem is the backup camera in the truck is not the right depth perception. It's a little bit off, so you can't really tell exactly where you're lined up. You can't see the ball in the bed of the truck from the camera up there. Now that we know where the center is, let me tell you another trick that we use to make sure that we get lined up with this red stripe. Now that red stripe that I was just talking about, you can get that tape anywhere, Home Depot, Walmart, whatever, order it online. Probably find it on Amazon. The next piece of equipment that we're getting ready to talk about is the tennis ball on a stick, which we got ours at Harbor Freight, but I'm sure that you can find it online. We'll try to find a link, and if we find it, we'll leave it down in the description below. But this is a telescoping stick, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this stick right behind the ball so that way I can see out the back of the truck, and I can line up this stick with my red stripe on my hitch. But there's an even better way to do it than that. The next little cool piece of equipment that we use is a little camera, and it's called an eyeball, and we got this on Amazon. I'll leave a link down in the description. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this behind the stick, lined exactly up with the stick, the ball, and the stripe, and there's a little monitor on the inside of the truck that plugs into my cigarette lighter so that I can see out of this camera. And once I got all three things lined up, then I'm straight, and then Leslie can back me on to the hitch. I did also put a little marker on the bed of the truck so that I put this camera in the exact same place every single time. That way it's not off to the left or the right. One of the things that we make sure we do is we make sure that we put our landing gears up on a block or two, because otherwise you have to max this thing out completely to clear that ball. And if you get into a position where you're, you know, in like a little rut or something, you might not be able to get that hitch high enough to get over the top of your ball. So we like to jack up the landing gear just a little bit just to be sure. Now, instead of using the mirror or these mirrors or looking back over my shoulder, I am going to look down here at this monitor, and that's going to tell me that I'm lined up. And then once I get lined up, Leslie can back me up onto the ball and tell me when to stop. Now I'll show you what I see as I'm looking down at the monitor and what it looks like when the ball is sliding onto the hitch. And once you get the ball locked onto the hitch, what you're going to want to do is, when you have a different kind of hitch, like we had the slider hitch, we did a tug test just to make sure that it was locked in and it wouldn't slide off. Well, on this, instead of doing a tug test, you actually do a lift test to make sure that that ball is locked onto the hitch. Once you've completed your lift test, to make sure that you're actually locked onto your ball, you want to hook up your safety chains, your breakaway cable, and your power cable. Now, these safety chain attachments do not come with the Gen Y hitch. You have to buy these separately. We got ours at Ace Hardware, but I'm sure that you can find them online. There is a bunch of different models, a bunch of different kinds, and they all work the same. They plug right into your puck system that's already in your truck, if you already have a puck system in your truck. We'll leave a link in the description below to Sumo Springs. Pop over there, we can save you 15%. And all you gotta do is put in the promo code WaywardWags when you check out. Well, that's it for hitching up. Those few little things help us get lined up and hitched up every time. Now we're going to do unhitching. And unhitching is basically just the reverse of everything that you just did, except right toward the end, it's a little bit different because I need Leslie's help to help me unhitch. When you go to unhitch, there's a little mechanism right here, and it's attached to a cable that goes back here that Leslie's holding. And so when I go over here to the control panel and I start lifting up the RV, she's going to pull on this cable, which is going to release this mechanism which locks the ball on, and then the whole hitch will come up off of the ball, and then I can drive forward and get off the hitch. Now, if I was by myself, I could probably, if I tried to, barely reach. I'd have to reach way over to the control, and with my other arm, reach way over to that cable and try to push the retract button while I'm pulling that cable. It's just easier if Leslie pulls it for me. But if you are by yourself, it is possible. It's just a little more tricky. Gen Y also offers a hitch lock because you cannot use a traditional kingpin lock on the Gen Y hitch. So if you want one of those, it'll cost you a little bit extra, but definitely worth it for peace of mind. No one's going to steal your RV. Well, there you have it.
Yep, that's it.
Not too bad.
No.
We got a little system down now, and the tennis ball stick, the eyeball, the red tape, all that stuff really helps. Now, there's a version of the Gen Y hitch that comes without this cable, and I would not recommend getting the one without the cable, because then you got to climb up into the truck bed, you got to click this up, and then climb back out, and then lift it up. And sometimes there's a little bit of tension where the truck is still pulling on the ball, so you can't even get this thing clicked up. So what you got to do is, if that happens, jump back in the truck, just throw it in reverse, and just don't put your foot on the gas or anything, just let off the brake, just let that thing slide back just to release that tension, and then that ball will just slide right off of there. But definitely a little more difficult than the slider hitch, but it really is the biggest con, and all of the other pros outweigh it. So if you haven't seen that video, we'll put a link in the description so you can go back and watch that video on our pros and cons of this. If you have any questions about our process of hitching or unhitching, just leave us a comment and we will try our best to answer those. And stick around for a few more seconds because we're going to honor a fallen hero. If you want to get involved with helping us help veterans while we're out on the road, everything you need to know is right down in the description of the video. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.